informing people about Citizens United and that ruling is very important. What are the solutions to that? I mean, personally, I really feel like what we need is a new amendment to overturn that ruling. I mean, but that takes, 3/4. It's very complicated. I don't even know where to begin. I think this is where I should check my notes really quick. Yeah, woo notes. So, I'll talk a little bit about ALEC. For those of you who aren't familiar, I don't think there's any of you who aren't familiar, but the American Legislative Exchange Council, that's what ALEC stands for. These guys have their hands in like the worst legislation that's going through our country. I don't know if you guys know how it works, but I'll use the example of the Stand Your Ground law. An NRA lobbyist basically buddied up with Jeb Bush about a decade ago or so. They passed this law, and after they could find out that it could work here in Florida, ALEC created one of their model bills. And then they used this model bill to pass similar legislation in other, states around the country. First, the biggest problem with that, obviously, is that our elected officials are not even doing the jobs that we elected them to do. They're outsourcing the jobs that we want them to do. So they're selling themselves off to special interests, and everybody's getting the cut. How does that translate to what's going on, or what's been going on in Florida? You've got the voter suppression that's been going on. You've got the mandatory drug testing for welfare recipients that Rick Scott's also been trying to push through. The privatization of prisons. The challenge to Obamacare. The Affordable Health Care Act. A lot of other things. But all those things go through ALEC. And they're all working together against us, guys. They're working together against us. It's anger. It makes me angry. It makes me angry that there is no accountability. How do we do that? How do we hold these elected officials accountable for the jobs they're supposed to be doing? How can we explore the options to correct that? This is where it has to start. It has to start by coming together as a community and talking with each other and sharing this information and keeping, the momentum of that conversation going forward throughout election seasons, through political cycles, whichever way the pendulum sort of seems to swing, depending on our moods from year to year. The county and city recently came to an agreement to spend $175 million to renovate the Citrus Bowl. That's great and everything. It's nice to have, a city where we can have the state-of-the-art, arenas and stadiums, but we don't have a local government who's accountable to the people who elected them. We can work, live, and play here, but we can't have elected officials who do the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. Again, it has to start in the community. We have to be able to come together and share this with each other, so that way when it comes up again, people don't just blindly vote for Teresa Jacobs because she seems like a nice person. I don't know, we've got to let people know that they're literally in the pockets of the 1%, or at least the people who protect the 1%. So, I'll talk a little bit more about the Citizens United ruling, I guess. So Citizens United was, passed in 2010, or the ruling came through about 2 years ago. And firstly, it states that it basically equates money as speech. Now, I've looked over the Constitution a couple times, and I don't see anything in the First Amendment that equates money as speech. But this ruling does that. This ruling says that money is speech. It also reaffirms that corporations are people. There's a quote, if you'll give me 1 second to look through my scribblings. So Justice Stevens was a dissenter on that ruling, and he had this to say, quote, "Although they make enormous contributions to our society, corporations are not actually members of it. Very simple. Very simple, yet the court still ruled in favor of Citizens United. I mean, money is not speech. And if you think that money is speech, that's the fundamental, that's the problem right there. Because we use it to exchange for goods and services. Speech is something, it's an inalienable right that we as humans have to speak our minds freely like we do here. To speak our minds wherever we want. I can do this and I don't expect anything in return. I don't expect anybody to give me anything. You know, I'm not expecting, you know, for you guys to take away anything necessarily. It's our right to do this. Money is different. Money is capital. We use that, you know, as a means to something else. It's not speech. So because of the ruling, corporations can donate basically unlimited amounts of money to whomever they want, and they can say that it's free speech. We've got to let our fellow citizens and our fellow members of our community know that that is not the case. More notes. Clap it up while I look at the notes. All right. I feel like too often in America, progress for America is like, you know, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's got to be all steps forward. All steps forward. Enough of this stepping backwards stuff. I think we've all had enough of it, right? I mean, you look at how we'll pass you know, legislation, you know, for like, you know, gay marriage. We'll be like, yes, it's legal in one place, and then a few months later we'll have somebody come back and turn back on it and say, no, it's not legal anymore. We have to be able to call them out and say, no, you made the decision. You made the decision. It's the right thing to do. Why are we going back? Why are we going back? Because people with money who protect the interests of the 1% don't want us to go in that direction. So, I'll start over. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. So, I mean, there's a couple places you can look for more information. Obviously, I don't have it all. Google Move to Amend, or, Dylan Ratigan. I don't think he's on TV anymore, but he was a real big proponent of this, you know, amendment to overturn the Citizens United ruling to get money out of politics. Telling your elected officials to run publicly financed campaigns that are only paid for by the taxpayers is another solution. I'm not a big proponent of either or. I'm more of an and both kind of person. But when it comes to money in politics, it's got to be an either or sort of solution. Either we get money out of politics, or we continue to let the 1% dictate and rule our lives and ruin our culture and corrupt our youth by protecting their special interests. That's all I really have to say. Thanks, guys. Occupy forever.
You guys give another hand for Leo. That was beautiful. All right, so many of us have been victims of the police department, and some of us cannot be in this park. So we would like to have Sidewalk Solidarity participants also involved on the mic. So I got a really long ass cable. It's very, very long.